Red Voyage News, splashing the check-in. Thank you for tuning in. I have an article right here brought to you by the NewYorkTimes.com. Michigan high school shooting, 3 students killed and several critically injured. I think about 8 students were critically injured. A 15-year-old sophomore was taken into custody with a semi-automatic handgun that was bought by his father 4 days before the fatal shooting. So I don't know if his father was actually a gun owner prior to him buying the pistol, because he could have had rifles. He could have been a hunter. Who knows? Or he could have just had a shotgun. And the 15-year-old was probably like, I don't want to carry anything too big. I can't walk around the classroom with that. So his father went out and purchased a handgun, made it known to his family that he purchased a handgun, and your children know about it. You might have shown your family the new handgun, and you bought bullets for the handgun, obviously. And, he's 15, so he's probably old enough to where it's like, okay, I don't need to take him to school. I don't need to drive him to school. He can walk to school. He could take the bus to school. And the parents, the mother and the father, they probably go to work before it's time for their son to actually go to school, because he's in high school. Some high schools around the country, they start at 7. Some high schools around the country, they start at 9 a.m. So let's say you got to be at work by 8 and you have to leave by 6:30 to beat traffic. Nobody's in the house. It's just the 15-year-old. And he's able to go through your things and find whatever it is that he's looking for. And obviously he was looking for your handgun because he wanted to do this brazen act at his high school. The father would have been better off purchasing the pistol and not telling his family about it. Okay. Or you should have got your concealed carry license. And if you bought the handgun, you should have just had it with you in the vehicle. Don't leave it at home. But, you don't really think about these things. You're like, okay, I have a good son. I have a good kid. You don't think that he would do something like this until it actually happens. Okay, the students that died, they were all students at Oxford High School in suburban Detroit. They named the names of people who got shot and who died. From what I heard, this didn't happen while class was going on. I watched the video. From what I heard, this happened when the hallways were packed. So they must have been in between classes. Class ended, everybody's going to their other class, and then, he just let loose in the hallway. It said the only adult who was shot was a 47-year-old teacher. He had been discharged from a hospital. Okay, well, the video said this happened when everybody was in the hallway, but this young man right here, Dale Schmallenberg, 16, he said he was in calculus class when his teacher heard a gunshot and locked down the classroom. I didn't really know how to respond. Students described frantically hiding in classrooms and fleeing from the school after long minutes of terror. They're preparing, getting funeral arrangements going on right now. Officials said the gunman fired 15 to 20 shots with a semi-automatic handgun before being apprehended. The call was made at 12:51 p.m., so around about lunchtime. I know when I was going to high school, they would have 3 different lunchtime periods. So it might have been people in the hallways going to lunch, and then a third of the school, or 2/3 of the school was in class, and the other third of the school, they're having lunch. He used a 9mm 6 Sawyer. Okay, and his father purchased it. The victims in the school shooting include a football player and 2 other students. Okay, so he died. She died. And this young woman right here, she passed. Okay. And this is the first time this has happened in America. I mean, I remember the worst year for school shootings. I believe it was like 2019. It was like every other week there was a school shooting. And every time another school shooting comes up, the conversation of gun control, that phrase gets thrown around on Twitter. That phrase gets thrown around on social media and on the streets as well. They're not going to get rid of guns in America. Okay. They will never, ever, 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 ever get rid of guns in America. They'll never make guns illegal to own in America. The gun is a great equalizer. All right. And people don't really feel safe and equal when they're walking the streets amongst those that they fear, and they don't have a weapon on them. Now, the people that they fear, are they bothering them? No. They probably don't bother them. They're probably the nicest people in the world. The thing about it is, it's like, hey, I fear them because I feel inferior next to them. I don't want to get too deep. All right. I don't want to get too deep because whatever this 15-year-old was going through, whether it was him being bullied, depression, mental illness, whatever the case may be, the fact of the matter is that 3 students lost their lives and several people got shot and they're injured. And is this going to stop? I don't think it's going to stop. I mean, it keeps happening every other month, every year. Every year this keeps happening. You go to the ghettos in America, they have metal detectors and the whole 9 yards. You don't hear about shootings in the school. You don't hear about shootings outside the school, across the street on school grounds. You don't hear that at all in ghettos of America. But in suburbs of America, you see, they don't have metal detectors. The parents would throw a fit if they had metal detectors in the suburbs. It's like, you're treating my kids like criminals. When look at the areas as to where these school shootings always happen, it's usually happening in suburban, middle class, or affluent areas. All right. So what's the solution? Like, subscribe, comment, share this video. I'm over and I'm out. I can't even talk. Peace.